Good morning, everyone. Please rise for the pledge.
No, it's one. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is any public comment or questions concerning today's agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to number one. Motion to approve the February 5th, 2025 agenda.
Motion.
Motion, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the January 15th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the January 22nd, 2025 conference minutes.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the payment from the general fund and county bills in the amount of $624,980.11.
Motion.
Second, all in favor? Motion to approve payment from the liquid fuels fund in the amount of $260.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the payment from Act 89 in the amount of $4,055.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Under personnel, motion to change the status of Betty Malik from full-time to part-time housekeeping supervisor in the maintenance department for less than 1,000 hours per year, retroactive to January 24th, 2025.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to hire Curtis Evans as a caseworker 2 for Children and Youth Services for a 40-hour work week, retroactive to February 3rd, 2025, with benefits after 90 days.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to recess the Commissioners' meeting to hold a salary board.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to reconvene the salary board.
Motion.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the January 15th, 22nd, and 29th, 2025 salary board minutes.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to set the annual salary of Curtis Evans at $51,480 per year as a caseworker 2 for Children and Youth Services for a 40-hour work week, retroactive to February 3rd, 2025, with benefits after 90 days.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to set the hourly rate of correctional officer Justice Vertree at $28.41 per hour, effective February 12, 2025, due to the terms of the agreement between the Pike County and AFSCME District Council 87 for the completion of 1 year of services as a correctional officer for the correctional facility.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to set the hourly rate of correctional officer DeJane Dunn at $31.69 per hour, effective February 6, 2025, due to the terms of the agreement between Pike County and the AFSCME District Council 87 for the completion of 2 years of service as a correctional officer at the correctional facility.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to set the hourly rate of Christopher Fremuth at $36.06 per hour, effective February 21st, 2025, due to the terms of agreement between Pike County and the AFSCME District Council 87 for the completion of 8 years of service as a correctional officer for the correctional facility.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn the salary board.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to reconvene the Commissioners' meeting.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Under old business, motion to award bids for the purchase of groceries and frozen foods for the period of March 2025 to June 2025 on behalf of the correctional facility to La Villa in the amount of $77,465.40, Driscoll in the amount of $23,446.16, Cisco in the amount of $14,901.53, Bernard in the amount of $15,916.34, and Food Galore in the amount of $100,387.38, with a total amount of $232,116.81.
Motion.
Motion, and I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to authorize the chairman to execute amendment number 2 to the owner-engineer agreement between MHE Engineering, DPC, and the County of Pike.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to advertise bids for the leasing of approximately 80 acres of tillable fields for the purpose of planting for the 2025 growing season.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to authorize the chairman to execute the fire protection and life safety inspection agreement on behalf of the Area Agency on Aging.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to authorize the chairman to execute the youth level of service case management inventory 2.0 test usage agreement on behalf of the juvenile probation department.
Motion.
Motion, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to authorize the chairman to execute the sub-grant award notification for the Pike County Victim Witness Program on behalf of the District Attorney's Office.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to execute the modification request for the Dixon House 2025 project on behalf of the District Attorney's Office.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the following human service payment vouchers on behalf of the Office of Human Service Development Fund in the amount of $1,108.30. Fair in the amount of $5,487.89, and State Food Purchase Program in the amount of $3,222.06.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Program Payment Voucher payable to Pro Solutions Home Renovations LLC in the amount of $10,200 on behalf of the Office of Human Services.
Motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to execute the contract between UBI and the Pike County Human Services.
Motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to appoint Jack Donson to the Pike County Economic Development Authority Board to fill an unexpired term ending 12/31/2025.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we move on to miscellaneous. As every month, every meeting, we have the Penn State Extension calendar of events. And then we have here Tim Knapp, Director of Pike County Public Safety, to present us with a check, which we're always very happy to receive.
I have Jordan Wisniewski, the EMS coordinator, and Kyle Roner with me as well as deputy director. And I have a check with me today, but I think we'll just tell you the numbers first, that we finally got 2024 numbers done, just give you a little
Yeah, sure.
what this helped us
Was
with.
it training? Sure.
Sure, I'll start out with, come on up first. I'll start out with, we all manage a different piece of the training center to try to spread the workload. I manage the professional certification level when it comes to fire. I can tell you, firefighter 1, we've had 3 testing sessions and we had 41 recruits achieve their professional certification. That's a professional certification in Fire 1. We had 4 recruits receive it in Fire 2. Area operator, we had 3 recruits. Traffic incident management, we had 12 recruits. Hazardous material awareness, we had 13 recruits. So we issued 73 professional certifications in fire dynamics last year and all different levels of it. This year we've added 3 new certifications: vehicle rescue, passenger vehicle, rope rescue awareness, and fire officer 1. I think it's important to mention these professional certifications because when you go out looking for a job, this is the list of stuff they want to see. And if you already have that done at your home county, it's easier for you to get that job. So that's still going strong.
Well done, Tim. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
We'll go through the EMS.
So we just finished up our fall EMT course in November. 14 students completed the course, 10 of which have now tested. 8 of them have successfully passed all the tests. We do know that's a tough exam.
That's huge.
The state's passing rate right now is at 63% for the emergency medical technician. The fact that 8 out of 10 puts our number at 80% for the last class, that's 20% above what the state average is. So it's very phenomenal. Of those 8, 7 of them are actually currently serving a Pike County now. So
Excellent.
it's nice to slack that on. We have 25 students currently registered for the next class, which actually starts March 13th. That class is at capacity. We can't accept anybody further. The waiting list was 12, it's actually now 13 as of this morning. I got another phone call for the fall EMT class because we had such an outpouring for it. We're actually going to run a second one in the fall as well. We also are running an instructor program to kind of help stock instructors for us as well. We currently have 14 people signed up for that. Our current class running right now is our advanced emergency medical technician, which is a step below paramedic, but it is above the basic life support of an EMT. We have 5 students currently in that class. We just signed on with Lehigh Valley, so we will have them do clinical hours down there. It was a little bit of logistics. We were with legal for a month and a half with them, trying to get all that squared away. But that's all taken care of. Our current EMT program at the CTE in Walpole Peck School has 9 students in it, so they will test in May here. So with any luck, we'll have some more numbers there, and look forward to having a good turnout there.
Hey Jordan, could you just answer a quick question?
Sure.
Can you kind of give an overhead of what the training process for that you're talking about? What do these guys come in and gals? What do they come in and do? What do they go through, and how long does it take?
So the emergency medical technician class is 200 hours. They come in, they have to do ride-along time, they have to make 10 patient contacts, they learn everything from their basic CPR, basic first aid, treatment of any medical calls, trauma calls. It's all basic life support skills. That is what your basic ambulance has. It's 2 EMTs on it. So they do that 200 hours of training. They do a psychomotor test, which is a hands-on practical portion of the exam. And then they go on to the cognitive exam, which is a computer-based proficiency exam through Pearson View. They have to go to one of the test sites. Very strict policy. It's not like their normal multiple choice test where it's one answer is correct and that's it. This is based on what answer is the most correct. So it is a very difficult exam. That's why the state's at a 63% passing rate for that level. But after that, they go on to after they get that certification, they're able to go anywhere in 50 states.
And these are for professionals, these are guys who get paid.
Yes, yeah, everything is, I mean, we do have volunteers as well that help run in this, but it's a career right now in Pike County, so.
Thank you.
All right, well, everyone. Just go over some training numbers for the training center. The training center report for this year, we had a total of, we had a busy year. We had a total of 98 training classes that we brought in or hosted. And we had 1,965 total students taking those classes, which brought our average for classes to 20. So those are really good numbers. We ran a total of 778 total hours of training. Tim talked about the certification side of it. This year for new recruits, we actually did 21 new recruits completed our Mod 3, which is exterior firefighting level. And we did 18 new recruits that finished the Mod 4 interior firefighter live fire. So those are good numbers in the county. Burning building usage for this year, we had 20 company level burns, including the classes for the essential burns. Walpole Pack CTE right now, their sophomore year, they have 14 students. And then a senior year, which is their fire year, we have 4 students that are finishing up their basic firefighter. So spring of 2025 will be completed with Mod 4 interior firefighter, and then we will be able to test them for firefighter 1 professional certification. So good thing to come.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with, if you've seen, Kyle was talking about the CTE program. So the CTE program works really well because by the time they hit their senior year, they basically have the advantage to have their firefighter 1 and their EMT. And if you look at a job listing of any fire service that's hiring in any state, Pennsylvania, any of them, the requirements they require is fire 1 and EMT. So right out of high school, they can go right into the fire service and have all that stuff taken care of. The one thing I did mention, our professional certification, there were 6 last year from the CTE class that got that professional certification. So the program's definitely working. We get more students every year, and it's working for the best. But now for the good part. Always a check, right?
This is
Your
all
report was the
this is
good
actually-
part.
This is the stuff that helps us get to the good
Yeah,
stuff.
so you can't do any of this without funding, and between the commissioners and the Greater Pike Foundation, we got a great fund that works really well for this. It helps out, and it allows us to do this stuff. So we're very responsible when it comes back to getting reimbursements and how we can make money for this program to work. So I have a check today for $16,100 from the Rural Education Fund of the Department of Health. What they do is they give us a stipend for so many students, or how many students we use, and they give us a figure back, and we put it right back into the account so we can start getting the program and keep it strong. And just want to thank everybody for all their support. That's these guys, that's a lot of hours to handle on training. You look at State Fire Academy, they're not doing that many hours. I mean, that's for Pike County, the size it is to do that type of training, it shows the commitment of the volunteers and the career people in the county to do it. But here's a check.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I I certainly want to just say, Mr. Knapp, you were the perfect choice to step in and lead. And very thrilled to hear all of the great things and expect nothing less from what you've shown in the past. And certainly Mr. Wisniewski and Chief Roner, thank you for everything that you do to make sure that our kids get off to a fantastic start in your encouraging community and service. So thank you.
We appreciate that. And we couldn't do it without the support of everybody. I mean, these classes are expensive to hold, and I think he showed the numbers with our EMT program of, hitting the 80th percentile. I mean, it might go down, it might go up, who knows? But we worked really hard to get to that level. We've come from the 40% level where we felt we were doing good, and I think we really have a good hold on that. It's exciting times with the AMT program. There are numerous AMT units, we call them intermediate units in the county right now, Lackawax in Delaware, keep on telling you. Lehman. These are intermediate units where they don't have to go to college for 2 years, basically, and they're putting IVs in arms and stuff. So that's very exciting to see that program move forward too. It's uncommon now to hear just a regular BLS unit. Usually you hear an Alpha unit, which is our intermediate unit. So to grow out that system has been very rewarding to everybody involved on all levels because it benefits the community, and that's what we want to do.
To add some value to this, the number of people that we train for EMTs and that, what do you think it costs per student that if they were to do this on their own?
Oh,
if
they were doing it on their own, they're looking at $1,200 every day, and they would have to go out and buy all the materials that we provide for the BP.
I think that's important to let people know what this money goes with, not just the $16,000, but all the other money that we collect from all of the private sectors out there.
Yeah, not to mention just the $200 at a time. They would probably be upwards of $1,500 by the time they got done with the basic EMT, and she's anywhere from $1,700 to $2,500 in the advanced EMT. Same with our members getting a professional certification. Every one of those professional certifications will be popping them $150. So I mean, a lot of people, times are tough and people don't have that stuff. So we're actually encouraging the people by holding them responsible. I mean, we hold them responsible, like, hey, you got to complete this and you got to make attempts to pass it. But the cost savings is just amazing with funds like that we have going on. And I can tell you, if we probably did a couple hundred students now, 150.
We're a total number of students. We've done, I think it's 139 students that have started the program.
And I can tell you 50% of them would struggle to have the financial support to be able to even enter into the class.
Besides that, where they'd have to travel again.
Yeah, and where they'd have to travel. I mean, we try to make a one-stop shop that way, even if you look in our professional certification, every year we try to add a couple of disciplines that we see, hey, if it becomes popular on the market where we start seeing that, for career jobs, whether it be Scranton, I mean, fire, there's no career in Pike now, but it'll come someday. You're starting to see this stuff, so if we see something on the horizon that says, wow, they're starting to require the new Pro Board certification with Beaker, we add that to our curriculum.
Right.
We fit that in so we can say, okay, we're beating that curve and we're making sure they have what they need. When they leave Pike County, and a lot of them leave and come back. They just go and work. And they come back and volunteer. It's very common.
Now, it's all about public safety.
Yeah.
While you say we are, stocking our pond,
Yeah.
we are actually stocking
Everybody.
Everybody. We're doing our part.
One of the disciplines we're looking at now with the CTE program, we started to look into, and I think it's going to come forefront next year, is there's a shortage in the state of Pennsylvania of 911 dispatchers. Huge shortage. So we're taking the CTE class and saying, okay, how can we train these kids so they're job ready when they come out of school? And I think you're going to see that next year. I think we're going to.
We'll talk about that. Because we have the capacity up there to do that.
We do.
We have a separate simulator up there for people to be trained to be 911 dispatchers.
Yep, and there's a lot of technology involved with that. Like I can tell you right now, we've already brought up the subject with the CTE class and said, hey, would you have any interest? I have 3 people interested to do it right now. They're going to probably do it in May.
Nice.
So you don't want to do it at the freshman level because they're too young, of course. You want to do it at the senior level.
Sure.
A lot of legislative changes that we push for has helped us along the ways too. We can take a student now that's 17 in a CT, well, you can always do a CT, but you take a student now that's 17 and they can get all their interior qualifications, which they never could before, They can't practice it until they turn 18, but we were seeing a big problem with, the problem was people are graduating, and I have young kids now graduate when they're 17. They can't get the stuff, they can't get their certification, so they go out to college, and then they come back, they get married, they have kids, they don't have time to do that now.
Right.
Or getting it done before they even go anywhere. They can't practice it until they're 18,
But they're
but they're getting it done. So when they come back from college to live in the community, they already have the requirements to help out their volunteer organization and whatnot. So that's helped us a lot. It's very tricky law, but you gotta follow it to the T, but it helps. But once again, just couldn't do it with all you guys, without all your support. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Matt, can you give us a comment, like, talk about the fact that just within the last few years, one of the things that we've seen is an enormous change in the response times here in Pike County. A lot of this has been because of what their efforts are. A lot of it is because of this kind of unique program that we have here in Pike County. And it seems like no other counties have, where we're giving money to the municipalities in a matching program. Can you talk about how critical that has become and how kind of popular people are looking at it from the statewide issue?
Well, the state is looking at what we're doing here in Pike County. In fact, when they go to seminars, they call it the Pike County
EMS plan, yep.
EMS plan, right? And all of these components, whether it's the training or the money that we put into the services in our townships, all had to come together at the same time. Well, we could have put money just to the townships to bolster the ambulance service. We needed the personnel to put into those ambulances. So both of these came together at the same time. And it's proven to be very beneficial to everybody. You know, our number one job as public officials is public safety. That's out of everything else that we do here. We can talk about all sorts of programs and all sorts of things that we do, but if we're not thinking about public safety first, then we're not doing our job. So this is just really important. Hopefully other counties in the state will take our lead, but we've talked to them about it. But unfortunately, it makes a commitment. It takes a commitment of the taxpayers to make sure that they understand that we're taking some of their tax dollars and using it to put into public safety. We haven't heard anybody push back to it, because I'm not sure there's one of us that doesn't expect that when we call 911, that an ambulance shows up at a fairly fast time.
So one of the things is that it took federal funds to loosen up the funds here at the county level to make this happen. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Well, you know, in the beginning when we put this in place, we talked about using ARPA funds, if that's what you're referring to. But we found out, we realized right away back then that wasn't going to be sustainable. We just need to make the commitment. This money that we give to the townships now comes directly out of our general fund. In fact, I want to say that none of our ARPA money was ever used for it.
No, that was what I was applying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the ARPA funds that you did receive enabled you to leverage the local funds. In other words, that ARPA money freed up this money, correct?
Well, maybe in the very beginning it did, but right now there's no ARPA money to free it up.
I'm just talking about at the beginning.
I think that was the thought. You're right. We used that funding in the beginning because at that time everybody was going through some pretty significant financial difficulties because of COVID, and so that money that we got for that was initially used to put into this, but then we eventually just began using general fund money to do this.
And how much general fund money?
It's about 2 mils of taxes, which varies. It's about $2.1 million, $2.2 million worth of tax dollars, because it depends on the assessed valuation of each municipality.
So would you say that some of that money that was needed was a direct correlation to the fact that we had to raise taxes here in the county this year?
Oh, I think, in the last couple of years that we have to raise taxes, we have to make up for that, because that was never, prior to us making this commitment to the townships and to the community, that was never a line item in our budget. So obviously we needed to find the money, and not many places we're going to find the money except to our taxpayers.
Thank you, Matt.
Anyone else? Anybody else?
Oh, maybe. You could just clear up one thing. The money, how did you generate that money, and what is the title of the Greater Pike Fund that it is going into?
So that money, I guess that is a good point. So the money he was just talking about is the money that we allocate out of our general fund directly for ambulance services. The funding that Timmy is here presenting this money back 3 or 4 years ago, that fund was started by the generosity of Jason Oliger and another gentleman by the name of Bill Lovejoy, who both put together, I want to say that in the beginning it was about $30,000 to start this initiative, and that's how that fund was started.
And what's the name of the fund? Is it
Oh,
under
God,
the-
why did we come up with that acronym? I don't know, but she'll tell you, because I can never remember it.
It's the Pike County Emergency Services Initiative Fund.
Pike County Emergency.
Yes.
I have to look at it.
Initiative Fund.
We,
And
we have no idea why we.
PCESIF.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. But this, the funding that, the funding that Tim delivered today is from the EMS of Northeast PA Rural Education Fund. It's in, if you look under the second bullet in the miscellaneous agenda item, it spells
I'll
out.
have to get one of those.
Okay, we'll get you one.
Them their agendas. So the way this was formed was their generosity, and then we formed this fund. How we come up with the name, it was a group effort, and
That's cool.
because, but I think it's important to look in that fund and see that the money that goes in there is meant to be used for medical, emergency services.
in
So
general.
it's not just about the training, they can buy some equipment. The fund has now grown substantially. I don't know the exact balance right now, but it's well over $100,000.
So the money that they gave you today is going into that fund to.
We hand it over to Greater Pike,
Okay.
and then what happens, the way this scenario goes, Tim and his group will put together an invoice after they've done the training, and we pay for it first, and we get reimbursed out of that fund.
And is the training free?
The training is free.
Yep.
Yep.
How much does the training cost per person?
Yeah, that's.
It's about $750 for the emergency medical.
That's it, 700?
Well, then you add the
Yeah, for-
equipment and stuff.
That's just for the
Yeah.
course itself. That's not anything else.
It's weird, because like every class, what I do is I total everything up at every class and then submit the request to Greater Pike to reimburse the county. And they always come out at like $7,000 or $8,000. That's usually the story.
Per person or
Per class,
Per
yeah.
class.
So it's books and all of the equipment that we need to do this, and I can't stress enough that, their leadership in this has brought this to Pike County. Prior to this, anybody who wanted to do training was traveling down to Lehigh. So the chances then of people really wanting to do this was even more burdensome because they had to come out of work, then get in a car and drive to Lehigh, and that makes it, especially in the wintertime, who's going to do that? Here, it's local. All of this is right in Blooming Grove. It's right there in the training center.
And the classes are during, I'm sorry, the classes are during the day and weekends, or
Night and weekend.
night and weekends? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just trying to get a grasp on this a little bit. It seems to me like talking to the firefighters here in Milford, that they've gone from having a real crisis in terms of their volunteer firefighters, where they may have had less than 10 people able to show up at fires, to now they've got dozens of guys. Are you saying that the program that's been instituted here over the last couple of years, or I don't remember when the Oliver thing kicked off, but it was probably 2 years ago now. Are you saying that what we're seeing over there is a direct correlation?
To some aspect, sure. You always have pockets that do very well at recruiting and pockets that don't do very well at recruiting. But one thing I could assure you that, like, at the training center, we've gone out, we're a national test site. We're a Pennsylvania national test site now. We do our professional certifications. We're one of a couple dozen, I don't even think it's a couple dozen, educational training affiliates with the state of Pennsylvania. So we don't have to go to your Bucks County or, Lehigh Carbon or anything. We do it right in-house. We're an affiliate. We're an educational training affiliate of the Department of Health. So we'll use Milford as an example. If they had a student or a prospective member and we didn't, have the facility there for them to do it, that they would end up down in the Lehighs and stuff like that. And, so we're cutting their time of training to nothing, basically driving to the center of the county to get it done. So it's probably helping with some of the recruiting. There's a lot that go into recruiting, though. It's not just training. There's a magnitude of stuff that goes into recruiting retention.
So there's two different training there's training for firefighters
Yep.
and there's training for EMTs. A lot of the funds that are being expended out of this fund, if I'm correct, is going towards the training for EMTs.
Yeah, it is.
Not as much going out for fire. All the equipment is up there for fire training.
Yeah, there's no cost incurred by the fire department for training and certification.
Yeah.
There's-
They can send all their members they want up there for current for firefighter 1, firefighter 2, or advanced training,
Yep.
all within that facility.
So what are the
No
response
cost.
times now? Like in the single digits? I mean, years ago,
For
my
EMS.
wife's friend had to literally meet an ambulance one time. This is probably 10 years ago. But now, what are we looking at in terms of response times?
Well, I won't comment on the response times in a whole without looking at them, but I did last year, we did the comparison after we had it running and it was significantly less. There's one thing I'll tell you about our EMS system. When I wake up in the morning, I have a lot of worries. I got phone worries, I got radio worries, I got fire worries. I don't have to worry about our EMS system. It's that strong. Don't worry about it.
He can get those numbers for you. He's right, he just needs to.
I was looking for an approximation. You know,
It's best, I think, if he looks at it.
45 minutes, but now it's like 8 or something.
There's an ambulance on the road within 2 minutes.
Right, ambulance on the road, and that is the difference, right? Doesn't necessarily mean-
That's the one everybody wants to hear. There's ambulance, because I mean, I'd give you a response time if we're going from here to Belle Reeve.
Right.
But if we're going from here to Springbrook, it takes longer to get there. There's an ambulance on the road in 2 minutes.
And I think what the reason that is, so we can be clear, is because now the personnel is in the firehouse.
Yeah.
Or is in the ambulance building.
They're
Prior
there.
to this, we had to wait for, this is the way the volunteers had to work. Volunteers were home. So you had to wait for them to get from their house to the facility to get to the ambulance and go. And depending on winter months, I mean, that could be delayed.
Yeah, and
Now, it's.
There is times when we hit, like let's say we have ambulance X out on another call. And, even back when, before we had the EMS system that we have today, we would have 5 minutes for that ambulance to get out. They didn't get out. Then we go to the next ambulance, they would get 5 minutes. So there's perspective to have 10, 15 minutes before you even got an ambulance out. Even if that ambulance is at another call, we have to call a mutual aid ambulance, that ambulance is on the road within 2 minutes.
Right.
So there's always an ambulance going someplace.
Thank you, Tim. Okay. All right. Anyone else on any other topic?
Hi, I'm Greg Latordo. In relation to that, and I applaud you guys, it's great. Times for response is great. My question is, after they respond, I've been to meetings, last year I couldn't come to any meetings for health reasons. And health care is a very serious problem in this county. And
You
I
can
know.
sit, Greg, you don't need to stand.
Okay. My age.
That's what I know.
Okay,
I was
we're-
like seeing you like, all right.
But in the past, I don't know how many years ago, I brought it up about urgent care in hospitals. And God bless you, Matt, you've been working on it. And I know, can you give us a little bit more information about where we stand with that? Because I know, I live in Dingman's, and I know where the new Weiss is. They were gonna build an urgent care there, and it was gonna open by December 24. Now they're saying 25. And I'm hearing talk about there's possibility of a satellite hospital.
So here's where we are in the urgent cares.
Okay.
And you're right, we have been, the other day I spoke to a group of people about this very same thing, and the word I used is, the word of the day is patience. So when we have to deal with, because these are big entities, and it's not their fault that they don't want to get it going. There's tremendous amounts of regulations, both licensing from the federal government, the state government, never mind, just building that out and getting zoning permits. And that's the minor part of all of this. Where we stand right now in the urgent cares is this. The urgent care, I'll first start with the one up by Lake Milford. That is fully under construction. That one needed a building to be built. It is being built. It's right next door to the Dunkin' Donuts, across the street from the high school, if you want to see them going through that. The one in Weiss Market has all been built out. In fact, I just got off the phone a few minutes ago. What I've heard is that the x-ray equipment is being moved in. We heard 2 weeks ago that they're in the process of hiring a doctor to manage all of this. And then there's all of the licensing that goes with it. Then there is on top of it, and we have to be sure of this, and we've been talking with Northwell about this continually, and Lehigh Valley. We have to be sure that they have all of the right certifications, if that's the term, to accept everybody's insurance. Because the last thing we want them to do is open up and not accept somebody's insurance, because then they will be battling backwards. And I'm just going to give you an example. Everybody wonders what happened here in Milford. Part of that was reimbursement on insurance. Because was Atlantic Health is from New Jersey. They didn't have a Pennsylvania partner. What we see here is that there's a partnership between Northwell being a New York facility and Lehigh being a Pennsylvania. But this takes coordination and efforts. Listen, I wish this thing was open yesterday. We've been talking about this for a long time. That's why I say, unfortunately, we just have to deal with patience. It is built out. They are now looking at staffing. They are now looking at this insurance. So I can only tell you that is going to happen. If you stick your nose in there and open the door, you'll see it's all built out.
I have.
Right. Okay, good. I'm glad you have, because I tell people to do that. If you're questioning us, just drive down there and I did it myself months ago when they were just had it all studied out. I just wanted to know, is there really something going on here? And I believe them, and it is. As far as the mini hospital, that's what we'll call this. We have serious discussions going on to be able to develop a facility like that in the eastern edge of Pike County. And this is all being driven by these hospitals that I just mentioned a little while ago, right? But Northwell, Lehigh, all of them. But this is a big step for them to do that. Pike County has never had a hospital. I'm not going to get in and bore you with the history of why we don't, but there's very good reasons as to why we never have had a hospital in Pike County. And it's nobody's fault. It's just the way the county was developed. So this is on its way. All I can tell you is just sit back like we are and go for the ride. Ron, I know he's not here today. He's away. He's on the phone every day talking to them between Lehigh and Northwell, like, where are we? And it's just, as they told us, believe it or not, at one point they said to us, believe it or not, we're moving at warp speed. And we thought government was slow, and they laughed and they said, oh yeah, you thought government was slow.
Well, that's not the ambulance.
Right, exactly, right. You have to watch corporate America, and that's what this is, right? So
When you say the eastern.
this region of Pike County.
Not like Delaware, England.
Now, and early on, me and Ron, and now Krista's here, and prior to, we had thought that the place for a hospital would have been in the center part of the county. And main reason is because we owned all the land, right?
That's where the people are.
Well, but when
Where's the center of the population in Pike County?
the center of population is a little hard. I don't know that number, but I know the center is Blooming Grove, right? Geographically.
No, but population is Stigmas.
It is, but at the same time, when they're building these type of complexes, they're thinking about, we're the Pike County Commissioners, we need to think about Pike County residents, right? But when you're talking about big business, they're not thinking just about Pike County, they're thinking about people that are going to use their facility. So when you get that far into Pike County and you draw a circle and you do 25 minute, I think that's the number they used, it's a smaller number of people. You move that dot down to where you're sitting right now, and you draw that. Now imagine where that line goes. Into New Jersey, into New York. Got a county over here with 400,000 people in it. Their feeling is that they not only are going to attract people from just Pike County, they will attract people from all over. So I hear you, because we thought that's where it would go.
It'd be the logical place.
Well, yeah, but logical is one thing. Business and economically is a different story.
Northwell at one time I've read this thing.
The study.
A study that said, taking into consideration our summer population, center is 739.
That was their discussion, but like anything, these big companies look at things differently. Well, it had, the thing is, I know we can maybe discuss.
Well, also accessibility to 84, not to cut you off, Matt,
Right.
that was another point. The availability of the ambulances and everything else to be able to get on and off, and it's
Be a different story.
We have ambulances now, and these guys have yes, there's an ambulance on the road in 2-3 minutes, but once they get there, it's a half an hour or more, and I don't know how true it is, but I was told by an EMT that when they get an alert, helicopter is on standby.
I don't know if that's true.
That's not true.
So it depends on the call.
Yeah, depends on.
Right. It depends on what the situation they're facing, circumstances and stuff. If it's a major trauma thing, if it's a poisoning or a burn, the helicopter will be requested, but the ambulance has to make that request.
Right.
It's not something we do automatically.
Well, but it's not very comforting where I live, up in Dingman's. The hospital is here. It's a half an hour. It's a half an hour.
I know.
And I just went through a whole thing with my heart and everything. It's not very comforting. That's maybe, if it was 15 minutes, maybe I would live. Maybe not. And I appreciate all the effort. Don't get me wrong.
I know.
There was one time you actually said in a meeting that the county had a certain earmarked think you had the number of like 10 million or
So
something.
$2 million is what we took, and that is out of the federal funds. So we took ARPA money in the very beginning of that and took $2 million. And as we built this fund, we created the Pike County Medical Foundation. That money has $2 million sitting into it, and maybe a little bit more because people have donated towards it. That money is going to be used to help facilitate a medical center of a hospital of some sort in Pike County.
Okay.
But that's not near enough
No,
to construct something.
right.
Yeah. So it all comes down to economics, we hear what you're saying, because we had the same vision of doing that, because we were thinking about ambulance services. Because as we talked earlier, that was driving our discussions about when the ambulance crisis in this county was taking place. That's when this all started also, to start talking about a hospital, urgent cares, and how can we reduce some of the stress on EMS, right? And by having a facility someplace in the center, instead of them driving, you're saying a half hour, many ambulances are out of service, I believe, for 2 to 3 hours by the time they get going where they are.
Right.
That's why we need to have such a robust ambulance service with lots of other mutual aids, because when that one ambulance in Dingman's goes out of service for 3 hours, there needs to be somebody maybe to pick up their slack if there's another call, and there will be, right? But if we had this facility closer, it would put them back on the road a little quicker. Milford has the luxury, and Timmy will correct me if I'm wrong, but you can, that when they're called, or Westfall, because they're going to someplace like Bon Secours, they're back in service a little bit quicker than somebody out of Lackawax.
Oh, yeah, no, it's turning very.
And so we're looking at all these things. They hear us, to do this, but it also comes down to them looking at this to make sure that it's sustainable financially, because it's a big investment
Thank you.
on their part. But we're getting close.
Good, good.
Patience, remember.
Okay, well,
Patience, the word of the day.
That's where I was last year. I was a patient.
Well, not that.
It's fast versus right. We want it done
I get
right.
it.
Yeah.
No,
We
and
don't want
I
it fast.
appreciate all your efforts that
Yeah.
you've done.
Okay.
So,
Anyone else?
I have another question,
Okay, you can ask another one.
and the question is about the correctional facility. I've been up here since 1987. The correctional facility was built in 92, or I should say it was overbuilt in 92.
You're right, it was.
And back then, if I recall, the plan was we were going to get Wayne County to join with us. Well, that's not going to happen, and Wayne County just recently, in the last couple of years, said, no, we're not going to do that. And so we took in ICE detainees, and I understand we get paid for them. With the new administration's policy about ICE and deportations and everything, what are the commissioners or the board looking at? I mean, our proposed budget for the year is what, 16 million for the correctional facility, 395 beds. I don't have the statistics because it's not privy to me, but I don't know how many of those prisoners, the 395, are ours versus ICE, and what percentage is the money is the county getting from the federal government to house these. I'm not against any kind of thing with ICE, but as far as dollars and cents, a couple of years ago I looked at it and I had statistics of how many prisoners, and more than half of the prisoners in there were ICE detainees. But yet, when you looked at what we were getting from the federal government, it wasn't half the budget, or it wasn't more than half the budget. We were paying to house ICE detainees. And I just don't understand why we haven't corrected the overbuild before. Why not get rid of the ICE detainees and do other programs in there? We could do drug rehab, we could do senior care. It's a beautiful facility. We could build a hospital there. And I talked to you about this, and you said, you can't build a prison into a hospital. I don't know about that. Other places have done it. So explain to me whether we're paying, and what's the plans? I mean, if the plan is that we're going to deport all these criminal ICE detainees, are we going to end up with an empty jail, and we're going to be footing the bill for the whole prison even though it's not full?
Well, I don't know if we're deporting anybody. I know we're
No,
not.
not us.
But at the same time, this has been going on since 1992, you're right. So as far as this administration or any other administration, they have been arresting people and detaining them for decades. Maybe it's a little bit more highlighted right now because of the gentleman that's in the White House, but I will just remind you that between 2008 and 2016, there was more people detained and deported than there is right now. In fact, the number was like 320,000 per year. And we were detaining them. The plan right now is we have a contract with ICE. When you look at who we house and how many we have as local, the thing is, and this is more for the warden to discuss, the staffing model is required, whether we have those, we didn't increase the staff, by the way, to take care of the ICE detainees. There's a staffing number that goes from this number to that number, and it's the same amount of people, which is, I think, our total staff is 87, is what our contingent is, right? And that's what
You can maintain that.
we have to maintain that, right?
A
So
lot of
so we as taxpayers are gonna pay for those 87 anyway, right? We're gonna pay for all that staff anyway, we're gonna pay for all the staffing within the jail. This has been looked at numbers of times, if ICE was to pull out from us, right? We have a new contract with them. Our contract with them now is, we have a guaranteed rate. Whether they put 100 people in that jail or one person, they pay us $120 a day as if there was 100 people in that jail, which is about $6 million a year, I think, is what we budget. Right now, obviously, because of what's going on with the amount of people being detained, there's more in there. We have about, on average, right now, I think today there's 110 local prisoners in there. Sometimes that number can go to 100, sometimes that number can go to 140. So we always have to be prepared for that. But what we look at right now is how can we offset some of the costs up there by increasing it. We have a contract, and we're going to continue to do that, because you're right, the jail was overbuilt. The plan back then, and Mr. Farley was part of that back then, Wayne County was supposed to be was supposed to be a partner with it, but Wayne County built their own jail back then.
Yeah,
So
that's
for
true.
whatever reason, that broke down. You're right, a couple of years ago, we had a discussion with Wayne about them using their jail for a different purpose and coming to us, but Wayne didn't want to do that, you know. As far as using it for other purposes, yeah, it's an idea to do that. I don't know what the cost is to do something like that. Right now, we provide a service to the federal government. We have been. It's nothing new, and we're going to continue to do it.
I don't have a problem.
I understand.
providing the service, but I don't feel, as a Pike County resident, I want my money, my tax money, going to house.
It's not.
It's not. We're being paid for
You
that.
just said, how many dollars? 7
So-
million?
Yeah.
And the budget for this year is 16 million? 16 million.
See, we'd have to do the study to see what it would be as if they weren't there. I don't think the 16 million would be reduced that much further if we had no ICE in there, because we'd still.
What if we built a smaller prison just for our prisoners, for like 100 beds, and take that building and give it to Northwell and say, here.
We don't want it.
Well, they don't want it, first off, because they don't want to be in that part of Pike County. And the other thing is, what is the cost of, I hear what you're saying, and you brought this up 2 years ago. What's the cost to build that new building? And then now we building a prison, I'm going to tell you, is going to be, I don't even know, but it's going to be tens of millions of dollars, right? Now, who's going to pay for that?
Who's going to pay for the hospital? Though?
We're not. We're not.
Yeah.
We're
So
not.
if you took the building and gave it to them,
They
They
don't
don't
want
want
it.
it.
We wanted to give them the land.
They don't want it.
We wanted to give them the land. We wanted to give them the land. We wanted to give them the sewer. We wanted to give them the water. We wanted to give it all to them. That was the initial thought, was to do that. And they were very interested. And maybe that's the thing that sparked their interest to come to Pike County. We were going to give the land to a nursing home at one time also. But that didn't, even that was not the place where they wanted to be. And this is all about money. It's all about business. That's what makes the world go round, whether we like it or not.
get more money from ICE. That's all I'll say.
We will negotiate. We like to negotiate contracts, believe me. That's what we have him for, and that's what
And
the three of
he
us
does a
do.
good job, I gotta tell you.
And that's what the three of us do. We make sure we can squeeze every nickel out of them.
And my greater concern is that the inmates are treated humanely and fairly, and I have every bit of confidence in the warden. So.
Because I think you've been in there to see.
Yeah, so-
Yeah. Our warden is exemplary at what he does.
Yes.
And that's why we have such a good rapport with ICE, because they know that the people that we're holding them are being protected, because they have rights also.
Facilities.
All right.
All right, anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Latordo.
Thank you. It's a good discussion. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.